Hello and welcome to Insights, the podcast with your host, Joe Pane. Join me in this deep exploration of our personal journeys from ambition to meaning, where we stop living life fast and start living life deep. This is a journey of waking up and realizing that our lives have never been about us, but about others. True success leaves positive ripple effects on other souls. I believe that success needs to be redefined from our own personal ambitious endeavors to be redefined as the value that we leave and give to others around us. Join me now as we begin this journey to deeper connections, even more fulfillment, some fun, curiosity, life, love, and all good things. Your deeper journey from ambition to meaning starts right now. Hello everyone, it's Joe here. Welcome to episode 72. It has been a little while. We've had a bit of a break. Got quite busy, of course, with the launch of the Emotional Fitness Formula program a little while back, a few weeks ago, and that's been proven to keep me very, very busy. So apologies for the delay, but we're back now to do a stream of these next few episodes. Welcome to today's episode. And if you're not part of my group, as in my Emotional Fitness Hub, which is the closed private Facebook group that we have running, where I do weekly trainings there on a Wednesday at 10 a.m. Queensland time or 11 a.m. Melbourne, Sydney time. Little sort of mini training sessions that go for about 15, 20 minutes on anything to do with emotional fitness and the realm of spiritual fitness as well. So welcome to join me there. That's called the Emotional Fitness Hub on Facebook, and be great to see you there. All right, so welcome to episode 72. I've put a lot of thought into this one here because so much, at the time of this recording, we, of course, have heard I'm sick of hearing myself say the unbelievable news, because that's all I've been saying to myself for the last 2.5 years. This is unbelievable, that's incredible, who would have thought? Well, at the time of this recording, can you believe that there's one European country invading another European country? It's 2022. It's not 1942. And we have this incredible situation. There's that word again, incredible, unbelievable, inexplicable, psychotic, crazy, nonsensical situation, of course, between Russia and the Ukraine. So I thought that this particular episode, a couple of insights I want to share around human behavior. I want to call this episode, we're in what Caroline Myss describes as the age of the unthinkable. The age of the unthinkable. That's where we're at right now. Change is accelerating. Like, there are more and more changes going on than ever before at a speed that has never been seen in our generation. You know, from weather changes. Here I am, of course, in Noosa, Queensland. My heart goes out completely and utterly to the people of northern New South Wales, southeast Queensland. We've been unaffected by the flooding. When I say unaffected, we haven't been put out in any way. Whereas there's a few people that I know are well and truly submerged, their homes, that is, and cars and businesses, and it's just beyond belief. There's that word again, beyond belief. So the age of the unthinkable, this is it's a frequency. It's an energetic, vibrational frequency, and it's happening everywhere. I'm sure there's been lots of changes in your personal life, and I'm sure there's been a lot of changes in the people around you. So we've got this specific war, happening overseas. Who knows what the ripple effects of that are going to be in terms of other wars that it sprouts, or the death toll, or the ripple effect it makes across. And I don't want to be so crass as to minimize that, into economy, but, the financial economy system is the oxygen of Western society, so who knows what the ripple effects of that are going to be. The uncertainty is higher than it's ever been, and change is happening at an incredible pace. So as a collective, we've all experienced living our lives the last, 2.5 years in ways that we could not have imagined, right? At the time, I was living in Melbourne. We've only been here at the time of this recording about 3 months here in Noosa. But at the time of these last 2.5 years, the bulk of that time, we were living in Melbourne, Australia. And I thought it was unthinkable that the police and the army could literally walk the streets to ensure innocent citizens are abiding new mandate directives. It was unthinkable that a city like Melbourne could become completely desolate, and that if I went for a run for more than 5 kilometres from home, I could actually be seriously fined for doing so. Unthinkable. It was unthinkable that we could be fined for having visitors over. It was unthinkable to feel fear and uncertainty about hugging my parents. It was unthinkable that I could deliver all my training sessions from a 15.4-inch laptop screen. It was unthinkable to be running a conference for hundreds of people from the incredible comfort of my favourite room in my home. It was unthinkable that we could relocate our family from our hometown of 50 years and leaving everything and everyone we know to go to a beautiful new world and have no idea if it would work out. It was unthinkable that our journey to this new land would mean that we would be cooped up for 14 days in a 30 square metre hotel with no balcony, no opening windows, under 24/7 police guard in order to get here. It's unthinkable that I could ever deliver workshops from that hotel under hotel quarantine, under 24/7 police guard. Unthinkable that I could deliver workshops from there, which I did. It is unthinkable that a European war, as I've just shared, would break out, starting ripple effects across the world, which we have no idea how far, how wide, how impactful this will be on our lives. It's unthinkable that innocent people in the Ukraine will die because of one egomaniac. It is unthinkable that there are people who agree with this egomaniac. The age of the unthinkable, it carries a vibe, a frequency, a certain energy which aligns itself to a certain type of, and listen to this very carefully, a certain type of manifestation potential. Because there's an upside to this, right? There always is. We factually know, right, that our world, the entire universe, beyond our Earth, like everything, is energy. We know this. Science has been saying this for years. Energy is always moving and transforming its expression. The movement of energy is referred to as a vibration. The speed of the vibration, it's called the frequency. Certain frequencies will resonate with only certain frequencies. These frequencies will produce a specific reality or experience. So for example, right, if we, tune into a radio station of our liking, we have it tuned into its frequency, producing the reality or experience of that music station or of that talkback radio. If you can hear some blowers in the background in the garden, that's the gardeners who have suddenly appeared halfway through my recording of my podcast, episode 72. Let that be a moment to remember. Oh, there we go. He's just gone quiet. I think he's seen me here. If everything is energy, so let's go back to this conversation. If everything is energy, then so are we, you and I. And anything we wish to bring into our experience is energy. It's a frequency. So for the first time in a very long time, the frequency of the unthinkable is available to all of us. We are seeing in the world, and intimately and directly, everything is connected. How intimately and directly everything is connected. From the darkest of the dark to the lightest of the light. One might say that the Russian-Ukraine conflict cannot reach our psychological and energetic shores. But this is not true. The anticipation of this conflict and the conflict itself has created a higher level than what's been the new level of uncertainty. It's gone even more than that. A high level of uncertainty sentiment, if you like, through all money markets, devastating returns accumulated over the last few years. If not already, we will feel this directly in our own hip pockets through rising costs of living, rising fuel costs, which to me just make no sense, but that's a whole other conversation. And I'm not an expert in the politics of fuel and all that kind of industry. Naturally, I'm absolutely not minimizing the horror and the terror that millions of people are facing in the Ukraine. There are approximately 41 to 44 million people who live in the Ukraine. The point is that there are already issues for people here in Australia who can't keep up with the rising prices of our cost of living. There are people I know for a fact here in Noosa, in Sunshine Coast, one of the most beautiful places in Australia, who are homeless because they can't keep up with the rising costs of rent and all these different things. Now, is this because of a war overseas? Well, no. Does a war overseas contribute to the potential of cost of living becoming out of our control? Well, yeah, absolutely. How much so? How deeply? How wide? Don't know. We'll see what happens over time. The age of the unthinkable has a specific vibration, and it can be used as a force for good. Just as so many events in our world have been unthinkable from a darker perspective, so it can be utilized, as I just said a moment ago, as an instrument for the light. Ironically, both light and dark only exist because of its opposing expression. In other words, the light can only exist because the dark exists, and vice versa. The age of the unthinkable may have had many terrible consequences for most of us in the last 2 years. But it is because of that we can begin using the power of the unthinkable for inspiring and incredibly positive consequences. I can tell you now, it's because of the pandemic that we are living the lifestyle that we're living. And what I mean by that, it's only because of the pandemic that I was able to flip my business, like so many others, online, meaning that I could deliver my sessions, my trainings, my work, my everything from anywhere in the world. That's because of the pandemic. If it wasn't for that, I know I would have had a really difficult time back in 2019 trying to convince my clients and businesses to go on Zoom and do a session with me on the computer screen, because that's what I think is a better thing. Even I didn't believe it. I was, gravely concerned for my business when the whole thing started back in 2020, because I thought, well, that's the end of my trainings for now, because I didn't know it was going to go for 2 and a bit years, and who knows how much longer it's got to go, right? So the call, it's because of the dark that the light exists. It's because of the dark that the light has its opportunities to shine. So this is what I want to share with you, that the age of the unthinkable has, I reckon, barely begun. I think we're barely scratching the surface. We are living our dream, which is the light, because of the darkness. So here's the thing. So let me just repeat what I've been sharing just a few moments ago in a different way, right? Given we have this incredible age of the unthinkable, how can you and I create or add something in our lives which would make a world of difference to you and to others? You can choose to activate the power of imagination to access what may have been once unthinkable. I know that, in personally speaking, without going into all the details, because I haven't got time to cover it in a 20-minute podcast, but my business has changed immensely since being here in Noosa the last few months. The unthinkable has happened in a positive, massive light of unimaginable positive consequences of what I'm experiencing in my business right now, which some would say is the culmination of the last 16 years of doing this for a living. Without going into all the detail, because it actually doesn't matter so much for you, but I know that in my life, my business life has changed immensely because of the unthinkable, because of this unthinkable frequency that exists for all of us. So let me just repeat this. Access the power of your imagination. And now the imagination, coupled with consistent action, makes the unthinkable come alive. Now, I can hear some of you who are very logical thinkers, the analytical types, who are saying, well, Joe, how can you think about something that's unthinkable? That's impossible. That doesn't make sense. Well, I get where you're coming from, and I can appreciate that. I really do. I'm aware of that. But if we're living purely in a linear world, which we're not, if everything was linear in nature, which it isn't, then that thought makes sense. But from a natural law, it doesn't make sense at all, because everything is unthinkable until it arrives. So what I'm suggesting here, I guess all I'm suggesting here is I want to inspire you to go nuts with your imagination, with what's possible for you and your family and your team and your business and your environment and your market and whatever situation you find yourself in. This is a special time. Take advantage of it, or it will take advantage of you. I hope this is making sense. So that's the essence of my message here today for episode 72. I really, really thank you all for your patience in the 2 months gap, roughly speaking, between my episode 71 and 72. I hope it was worthwhile, but this is an incredible age. It's a time that I'm not going to use the word unprecedented, because I'm sure you've heard that word thousands of times in the last 2.5 years. But let me tell you, humanity has never been at this crevice before. Humanity has never been at this juncture in time before. And certainly this generation and many generations before it have not experienced this before. So I still think that we're living in incredible times. And I've often referred in other episodes to, other defining moments in humanity. Obviously the world wars, especially the Second World War in the 40s. The other defining moments in the late 19s, like 1918, 1919, 1920, the Spanish flu, the end of the First War. Can you imagine? Can you just imagine living in that time? I've mentioned this in another episode. I can't remember which one it was. Can you imagine living in that time where you're exiting a world war? That's the first ever world war. And then you've got this, genuine pandemic, the Spanish flu, the Spanish flu that was killing so many people, like on the streets, literally people were falling. So I think where we're living now compared to that, my God. I guess the difference is, and I can hear in the ether people thinking, well, there was no nuclear bombs or vacuum bombs or any of these incredibly devastating artillery weapons, war weapons that we have now. That's true. So, but listen, I want to finish this podcast episode on a high. I want to share again the sentiment I just mentioned a few minutes ago. We're living in this age of the unthinkable. Embrace your imagination, expand it, go wild in what's possible for your business, go wild in what's possible for your family, go nutso on what do you think is possible for you and those around you. Expand that imagination, go crazy with that imagination, because that's how you begin to reach the unthinkable. And if you and I don't embrace this age of the unthinkable, it will inevitably embrace us. So go for it. However you choose to translate my message here today. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Once again, just to complete with some basic housekeeping. If you haven't joined my private Facebook group, the Emotional Fitness Hub, feel more than welcome if you want to be part of that group, because my group there, it's building quite steadily. We're up to almost 1,800 members at the time of this recording. And as I said, I love delivering those weekly mini sessions every Wednesday there. Okay, so enjoy. I hope you're doing as well as can be. And I really, really sincerely wish and hope that all of you have had a good, great, positive, a good start to 2022. Here we are as we're talking in March of 2022. All right, everyone, enjoy, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again for listening. It's deeply appreciated. Bye for now. I'm Joe Pane, and you've been listening to Insights, the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you're thoroughly loving the journey of these messages, please feel more than welcome to leave a review. And be sure to leave a comment on what you've been learning and how useful this has been to you, and how you've been sharing this with those around you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'm looking forward to being with you again very soon in the next episode of Insights, the podcast.